Get Naomi in the back.
Thanks. The President likes to tout his deficit-cutting measures since he's come into office, but last week the Treasury Department actually reported that the deficit grew to $1.8 trillion for fiscal 2024. What's the White House's response to that data?
Well, that's why we've done the work that we have done, especially moving forward with this historic piece of legislation that speaks about how we're going to deal with the deficit, right? When we signed, the president signed, for example, last year, the $1 trillion debt deal that would cut the deficit by $1 trillion. You saw that in other pieces of legislation that he was able to sign and pass through. And that's why we have shown our commitment to dealing with the deficit. And what we're also seeing is what the former administration did. The former administration passed tax cuts for billionaires and corporations that had led to where we are currently with this deficit. And so the president has done the work and will continue to do the work to try and deal with, as you just laid out, the deficit that we're seeing. And look, what we're trying to do here from this administration is make sure that the economy continues to grow, that jobs are available, continue to grow, that we're lowering the unemployment rate and lowering costs. That is something that this president and this vice president are trying to do. Meanwhile, Republicans are doing the opposite. They want to continue to give these tax cuts to billionaires and corporations. They want to make it harder for middle-class families. And so there's a difference there. The contrast could not be more different in what we're trying to do and what the other side is trying to do.
I think this data sort of plays into public perceptions that Democrats are weaker in handling the economy as opposed to Republicans.
But it's not true. And so what we're going to speak to is how we have done the work to turn this economy around. We cannot forget where we were when the president walked into this administration, an economy that was in a downturn. We saw a situation with the pandemic where there was no strategy. Businesses were closing down. Majority of schools were closed. And so this president has been able to turn that around with the help of the vice president. And so this is why we're gonna go to New Hampshire tomorrow. We're gonna speak to the Inflation Reduction Act, what the president and the vice president has been able to do to lower costs, because we understand that there's more work to do. We understand this is, when you think about healthcare, this is incredibly important. You heard the announcement that we just made on contraception, making sure that we're expanding the ACA because that's important to women. And everything that we're talking about, Republicans in Congress, majority of them, don't want to see. They're on the other side of what we're trying to do. And so, look, we understand there's more work to do, and we're going to continue to push forward.